Welcome to the Mindset RX podcast, a show for functional athletes who wants to gain a champ's mindset. My name is Tom Foxley and I am the head coach and owner of Mindset RX. And today's podcast is a realization of sorts. And I can probably start this off by speaking a bit about how in-depth into philosophy and psychology I've been going. And this isn't gonna, don't worry, I'm not gonna nerd you out on this. I'm not gonna spend some time like just going into the depths of fiction and all that kind of stuff that I've been kind of focusing on. But I will say this, there was a quote from Jordan Peterson, and I've been speaking about him quite a lot, but I think he was actually talking about one of his mentors. And one of his mentors said something along the lines of, in fiction, we find out truths we already knew. And it's one of those that I'm talking about. Because we know this is we know this already. Like, me pointing this out is going to appear obvious at first. And despite how obvious it is, it's still very, very important for you as an athlete and also you as a human being. And my realization towards this began a few weeks back when I found myself in a familiar place for 99.999% of us, I'm sure, unless you're Matt Fraser and just nailing life, and I'm sure he still has weeks like this. But I found myself just not in a shit place. I wrote something earlier, and I wrote I was in a shit place, but I definitely wasn't in a shit place. I was in a place. The kind of, I don't really know what I'm doing. Kind of a bit average, a bit not really going towards anywhere, not hating life at all, not hating training at all, not loving it certainly. And I was straddling that progress, and I was progressing nicely. It was before I started following such strict programming as well, which definitely played a part of it. But I just kind of, I started questioning why I was training again. And these kind of reflection points are beginning to tell me something. And it's that if I find myself reflecting, it's that I've got an opportunity for growth, and I've got something that's conflicting between my conscious and subconscious mind, maybe, and I need to investigate this, and it's an opportunity to grow. But most of the time, I've in previous iterations, I've hidden away from this. So now I know that this is a chance to actually become a bit more reflective, to see myself on a deeper level. So I started thinking about why I was training and what it actually meant to me. And I realized until very recently, it was merely a refuge. Initially, let's go back. At 14, even before that, before I even knew who I really was, I found out who I was through sport and training and movement and showing who I really was. I found out that there's joy to movement and joy to physically expressing myself. And obviously I couldn't put words to that because I was 6, but human beings seem to have this fundamental love of this, and I was no different. And then things changed when, like I've spoken about hundreds, if not thousands of times before, when I started having the shit kicked out of me at school. And training then, and it was sport then, it was football and cricket, it became a refuge from humiliation and violence. So that was the refuge that I sought. And in those moments that I was playing sport, I found clarity of thought. I found a presence that I wouldn't get anywhere else. And it's very similar to how when I ski now, every trouble is put to one side. Like when I ski, and you guys might get this through CrossFit, or you might get it through another sport. When I ski, nothing else in the world matters apart from the face of the mountain that I'm on, the feel of the cold air in my face, and the exhilaration of trying to create a line over something as beautiful as a mountain. So that is in front of me. And everything else goes quiet. No matter what kind of difficulties I'm having, no matter what joys I've got, I'm present. And this is what I found then as well. And then this kind of ran out. Like maybe I couldn't run far enough. So ironically, I got to 18, and at this point it was like for so many of us, it was a reflection point, or probably more of an inflection point, to be honest. It was a point where I had the whole world in front of me, but I felt trapped. And I told myself I was running towards the Marines, that's why I was running. To become aerobically fit, to get the 1.5 mile time down, to become a Royal Marines Commando, because I was rightly so going towards a higher self. But at that time, I was in reality running from the fear of the unknown and the fear of insecurity and ultimately, the fear of failure, because I'd failed all my exams and my school time. So I was running away from that. And then in my early 20s, it became, again, like, this is when I found CrossFit, by the way. I found CrossFit around the same time as training for the Marines, but I really fell into it as I was going into training as a Royal Marines Commando. And as a reservist, by the way. And I found refuge in CrossFit, and that exhilaration, I found quiet in like the hands on knees position, with the rush of blood in your ears and AC/DC pumping and just the sound of your own breath and your heart beating in your ears. That is where I found my solitude and my quiet and my peace, essentially. That's what I found there. And it was solitude and peace from honestly being broke. I was broke as fuck back then, earning, I don't know, £600-700 a month, trying to live off that, feeling like I was holding my partner Harriet back. That was hard, like really fucking hard, and I was not in a good place then mentally at all. So I used CrossFit to run away from it. But it's only now that when I feel kind of a pull back to the not good mental state that I've had before, I listen to my mindset, and I go through my daily mindset practice, and it gives me the perspective. And this is the realization that I was talking about to begin with. In my mindset practice, I realized that no longer was I running away from something, and now I was using training as it should be used, which is an opportunity to grow into the character that you truly are. Like, underneath all the bullshit influence and beliefs, underneath the trappings of whatever you've created, the possibility and the potential that you truly are, that everyone has within them. And of course everyone equally has the downside, but the duress of training, the hardship of training, of getting under that bar and suffering in some way, is a way to develop the character that you want to display. And it's a way of self-actualizing, essentially. It's a way of becoming the person you really, really want to be. And you grow strength, and you grow resilience, and you grow fortitude, and you grow, as I've said, your character. And what you realize is that training is no longer a refuge at this point. And training is an opportunity. It's a privilege of growing under the chosen hardship. And it's this chosen hardship that enables growth and facilitates growth, and is ultimately the reason that you become the type of person you are. And this is something we've got to understand. This is something we've got to go towards, which is choosing the hardship, because character isn't grown in a vacuum. Character isn't grown in a nerfed world, a world with soft edges and safety. Character is grown out on the battlefield, metaphorical or otherwise. Character is grown under hardship, and it's through embracing that hardship that you'll become the best version of yourself. if you enjoyed this podcast, please head over to iTunes, leave it a 5-star review and maybe some nice words. Additionally, you can head over to Facebook and find the Facebook group, which there's also a link in this podcast description, to a Facebook group called Mindset for Functional Athletes, where I'll be sharing a lot more detail on the exact methodologies I use for coaching athletes on mindset, and essentially like everything you need to know about Mindset RX, including like a bunch of like early deals if you want to become involved in Mindset RX in some capacity too. So find that, which is the Facebook group, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts, and also tell a friend. If you enjoyed the show, share it on the socials, and you can find me on the social medias at Tom Foxley, which is TomFoxley, on Instagram. And you can also find me, because as Mr. Zuckerberg doesn't like, but I do it anyway, I use my personal profile on Facebook to spread the word of Mindset RX. So leave a 5-star review, tell some friends, and join Mindset for Functional Athletes, and there's a link for that in the description. And until next time, well, enjoy your training, see it as an opportunity, see it as a privilege, and I'll speak to you soon.